The 5-day work week is a fatal historical accident, and it is actively making you worse at your job. We are all lying to our employers, and they are lying right back to us. We've known for decades that technology should have given us a 15-hour work week by now. That was the prediction from the smartest economists in the 1930s. So, why are you still stuck at your desk, clicking a mouse jiggler to pretend you're busy? The answer isn't that you're lazy or that your job is essential. The answer is a simple, dark law of human nature and corporate structure called Parkinson's Law. And right now, there is a global revolution starting the 4-day work week that is the only way to finally break free. In this video, we're going to uncover how a simple, sneaky rule is causing a massive silent crisis in every office, why our current work structure is doomed to collapse, and how the 4-day work week is the direct, brutal counterattack to decades of wasted time. Let's start with the law itself, because it explains everything you hate about Monday morning. Parkinson's Law is simple. Work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. Think about that for a second. You start at Tuesday, maybe, and spend Wednesday and Thursday dragging your feet, doing half work, until you finally buckle down on Friday morning to finish the thing. The task was not 2 hours long. It was 4 days long because you had 4 days to fill. And the consequence of ignoring it is the invention of the bullshit job. Now, you've probably felt this yourself. That feeling maybe on a Tuesday at 2 p.m., where you look at your screen and think, I have absolutely nothing useful to do right now. You check your email for the 4th time. You arrange files that don't need arranging. You enter data that no one will ever look at. This is the definition of a bullshit job, a concept made famous by the late anthropologist David Graeber. He described these jobs as ones so completely pointless, unnecessary, or pernicious that even the employee cannot justify its existence. Why do these jobs exist? Because Parkinson's Law has created a massive, unacknowledged waste problem. When technology, computers, fast internet, automated systems made the actual necessary work take less and less time. Instead of saying, great, everyone can go home early, companies said, we must invent new tasks to fill the time. They hired new managers to manage the new tasks. They created new compliance roles to check the new tasks. They generated reports about the new tasks. The whole thing became a self-licking ice cream cone of manufactured busyness. It's staying online until 5:01 p.m., even though your work was done by 3 p.m., just so the manager sees the green light on the app. It's the ridiculous mouse jiggler gadget, a small USB device people buy just to wiggle their cursor so their status never goes away. People are literally buying technology to fake working because the system demands time, not results. This massive daily pretense is a crisis because it's not just a waste of company money, it's a waste of human life. You are spending your most vital, productive hours performing a bad act. And the root of the problem is older than the computer you're watching this video on. To understand why the 5-day week is so stubborn, you have to look back at how it was invented. It wasn't designed by people thinking about maximum human efficiency. It was a compromise born from labor wars. For most of the 19th century, the average person worked a grueling 10 to 14 hours a day, 6 days a week. The idea of the 8-hour day was a radical demand. This was the famous movement led by unions and activists under the banner, 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, and 8 hours for what you will. When they fought for the 8-hour day, they were fighting to survive, not to be more productive. They were fighting for a life. The historical shift to the 5-day work week really crystallizes in 2 key specific examples. First, Henry Ford in 1926. Ford didn't switch his auto factories to a 40-hour, 5-day week out of generosity. He did it because he realized that his workers were so exhausted by the 6-day week that they were less productive. More importantly, he needed them to have leisure time so they could spend their paychecks and buy the very cars they were building. Ford recognized that a well-rested worker who was also a consumer was better than an exhausted slave. This move was a stroke of capitalist genius, but it arbitrarily set the 40-hour week as the gold standard. Not because it was the most efficient way to make a car, but because it was the most effective way to sell a car. Second, the political endorsement. The 40-hour week was federally mandated in the United States in 1938 with the Fair Labor Standards Act. This was a huge win for workers. But here's the insidious part. For the past 80 years, the 40-hour week has been protected by law, not just as a ceiling, but as a default expectation. It became etched into the business mind as a unit of morality. If you weren't putting in 40 hours, you weren't working hard. This is the fatal trap. The law defined the time you had to be there, and Parkinson's law, this sneaky force of human nature, made sure you filled every minute of it, even if 15 of those hours were spent checking the news or looking at your phone. We fell into a deeply lazy mindset where we measure effort by the time spent, not the value created. The system is fundamentally designed around the clock, not the task. Think about a mechanic. It's easy to see their value. They fix the engine. That's tangible output. But for a marketing coordinator or a mid-level manager, how do you measure their value? By the sheer hours they bill, the meetings they attend, and the emails they send. The system is set up to reward presence, not performance. The longer you look busy, the more money you make, even if you are literally creating pointless bureaucratic work for your colleagues. The entire structure is on the verge of collapse because technology has now made the gap between work required and time available so huge that the illusion can no longer be maintained. The problem isn't work. The problem is the schedule. If Parkinson's law is the villain work expands to fill the available time, then the 4-day work week is the direct, brutal counterattack. It is a strategic move to weaponize scarcity. The simple logic is this. If you remove 20% of the available time, but still demand 100% of the output, what happens? All the bullshit jobs, all the productivity theater, all the time-wasting meetings, they have to be cut. There is no longer room for the fluff. The slack in the system, the time that Parkinson's law used to inflate pointless tasks, suddenly vanishes. Employees are forced to be laser-focused, ruthlessly prioritizing only the work that matters. This isn't a theory. This is what the global trials have proven, and the results are undeniable. Take the famous 2022 UK pilot, the largest one ever run, involving 61 companies and nearly 3,000 employees. The rule was simple: 100% pay, 80% time, 100% output. The results weren't just good. They were revolutionary. First, productivity didn't drop. It generally stayed the same or even slightly increased. This is the smoking gun. It proves that the 5-day week was largely inflated with wasted time. Second, the human benefits were massive. Staff turnover plummeted by 57%. Sick days dropped by 65%. Employees reported significantly lower stress and burnout. Why? Because you weren't just giving them a long weekend. You were giving them back their dignity. They knew they could work intensely for 4 days, get a huge block of time back, and come back rested and motivated. The work became meaningful again because it was efficiently focused. Another historic example is Iceland. Between 2015 and 2019, Iceland ran 2 massive trials involving over 2,500 workers across various public sector jobs, hospitals, police stations, government offices. The result was so successful that Icelandic unions negotiated for working time reductions. And now, nearly 90% of the country's working population has either moved to shorter hours or gained the right to negotiate them. This wasn't just an office worker perk. It was a national shift in the value of human time. The 4-day week is essentially an economic pressure cooker. It forces companies to clean house. It demands a shift from measuring how long you sat here to what did you actually deliver. For the first time in nearly a century, we are seeing a move away from Henry Ford's time-based work model towards a true value-based model. It is the only way to kill the cancerous growth of Parkinson's law in the modern economy. But this shift is sparking a crisis of its own. If the 4-day week is so good, why isn't everyone doing it? Because it highlights a massive looming problem that could lead to the collapse of the labor market as we know it, the two-tier system. The 4-day week, as it exists now, is easiest to implement in white-collar, knowledge-based jobs marketing, finance, tech, and administration. These are the jobs where output is hard to measure and Parkinson's law thrives the most. But what about the essential workers? The people whose jobs have a direct relationship with time and physical presence? The nurses in hospitals, the teachers in classrooms, the retail workers on the floor, the factory workers on the assembly line. A nurse cannot suddenly finish a 5-day shift in 4 days. A teacher can't teach a full curriculum with one less day in the week. If the cushy office workers get a 3-day weekend and a massive improvement in life quality, while the essential, blue-collar workers are still grinding out 5 or 6 days, you create a deep, bitter resentment. The social fabric of the workforce could face a crisis of unfairness. Essential workers may rightly demand better compensation, or they will abandon their jobs for the greener grass of the 4-day week companies. This is the next hurdle that has to be crossed for the revolution to succeed. The 4-day week cannot be a luxury. It has to be a model that benefits everyone, or the system will be doomed to fail socially. The future is likely a mix of solutions: reduced total hours for everyone, rotating schedules in service industries, and far higher pay for those who must remain on a 5-day schedule. But the key principle remains the same. The 5-day week, driven by Parkinson's law, is unsustainable. A 5-day, 40-hour work week is a relic of 19th century labor battles, solidified by Henry Ford and corrupted by Parkinson's law. It forces people to waste time, to invent meaningless tasks, and to perform the ridiculous charade of productivity theater, leading to a silent crisis of stress and burnout. The 4-day work week is not a nice perk. It is a necessary strategic intervention. It weaponizes time scarcity to kill the fluff, forces ruthless efficiency, and proves that we have enough technology and productivity to give everyone back a significant chunk of their life. It's the single most direct threat to the broken, time-obsessed culture that has dominated the last 80 years. We are living through the slow, inevitable collapse of the time-based economy. You can either stay trapped in the illusion, or you can join the revolution that is finally recognizing that the value of your time is not measured by the minutes you spend at a desk, but by the focused, high-quality output you deliver. If this idea of taking back your time resonated with you, and you want to see more videos breaking down the hidden economics of your life, hit the subscribe button.